One of the biggest things that people complain to me about is that they don't have time to do the projects that they want to do. I am going to talk to you about some things that you can put in place that'll help you get those projects done, make you feel more confident and more excited to get busy on a piece and get it done in a timely manner. We're busy, aren't we? We're all busy. You're not the only one. You know, everyone always thinks, oh, you just don't understand how busy I am. I do understand that, and I want to give you some tips. Now, starting with, we're going to talk about your workshop. Check mine out. It's a mess, but it's always a mess. When I'm in the middle of a project, I don't worry about cleaning, I just worry about creating. And when I'm done with a project, this is what it looks like. It's always a disaster. So let's talk about the next step so we can get started on the next project. This is what my workshop looks like right now. I just did a couple big projects. I started painting this. I did some videos for my members on the blueprint, and it's a disaster. That's how I work and that's how I roll. I just do what I want to do and I worry about the rest later, because that's how I keep my creativity going. I give myself the latitude to make a mess and not worry about it until I'm done. Here is your first step toward getting ready for your project. Now I've got one started here, and it kind of sat there for a while because I got interrupted by other things going on. So now I have to start over as far as planning my project and getting it ready to work on. Step one, clean your floor. Give yourself a clear path, a clear area to work on your piece. Now for me, that means sweep it. Not necessarily mopping it every time, but just getting that floor ready. Too often we don't get started on a project because we envision that project as a big deal. And you know, some of our projects are a big deal. But if you look at the project as a whole, it'll cause you to think, I don't have time to do that right now, and you'll put it off. So the reason I'm going through these steps with you is to show you what you can do when you get just 5 minutes in your day to run and go do something. So first, you go down and straighten up your work area like I just showed you, where you clear the path on the floor. It's all ready, it's clean, and it's just waiting for you. And when you look over at that area, or you think about the project that you have to do, you're going to envision a clean area, and that is going to get you creativity in that brain going, and you're going to be thinking positively when it comes to planning out your project or looking forward to getting started on that. So that's why I say step one, clean your area. Now I had 5 minutes. I ran down here and I put a few things away that were on the counter. I didn't do it all. I didn't get wrapped up in the 100% of getting the place totally pristine. I only had 5 minutes. So I ran down, put some things away, put the table out of the way, and I swept the floor. That was what I got accomplished in just a few minutes. And then I ran upstairs and talked to DH about another project and planned it out. So now I've got another 5-10 minutes. DH is gone off doing his little project, doing his shopping, and I ran down here again. And this is what I have now. Now this would be my step two. Layout. Now the floor is clean, right? So you've got a clear path to work. My next 5-10 minute sneaking away from real life, okay, is to run downstairs to my workshop, and I cleaned the floor. I laid out my drop cloth, put my piece on that drop cloth along with what I was going to use when I did have time to come down and work on it. So this is what I have now. I have my project sitting on my drop cloth, just sitting there and waiting for me to get started. So guess what I am going to think when I think about my project? I'm going to think about a clear floor with a drop cloth in place, with my piece already sitting there waiting for me to work on it. And then I also have what I need to get started, just sitting out. Now I did that in 10 minutes. Everybody's got 10 minutes. You can grab 10 minutes here or there and you can get started on your project. And you know, you don't have to look at this as a whole project you don't have time for. You have 5-10 minutes here and there, and now my project's waiting for me. That's how I do things. You know, back when we raised our 15 kids and we were super busy, I was full-time in the ministry. I was a full-time teacher. I did a bazillion other things in the church, but I still had time for my projects. Back then, I painted t-shirts, I did cross stitch, I read books. I had to deal with my kids' homework and all of the stuff that goes into raising that many kids, plus all my ministry stuff. But I still had time to do my projects. Why? Because I learned back in that time that you don't have to do the entire project all in one sitting. I used to scrapbook like crazy. And, well, of course, now I put my effort into painting furniture. But I used to do scrapbook, and I would have my table set out, I'd have my stuff set out, and then when I had time, I'd go sit down and work on it. So that's where I learned that, because I raised all those kids and I was so busy in the ministry and I still wanted to do something creative, I learned to do a little bit at a time to set my stuff up, to get it ready, so when I had a few minutes, I could go do it. So that's what I suggest for you. So I'm going to show you my next step when it comes up as to what I'm going to do. Now, I already have this piece prepped and one layer of paint on it. So, you know, I didn't lay out my repair tools and that kind of thing for these videos. But to get started, I did that. I cleaned up my area, I laid down my drop cloth, I brought my piece over, and I prepped it. I didn't do it all at once. I don't have time to sit down for 2-3 hours. I have other stuff going on in my life. So I just laid the stuff out. I laid out the cleaning supplies and my repair stuff, the Durham's putty, whatever I needed to clean it up and prep it to get it ready for painting. And then when I had time, I came down and cleaned it. And then when I had time, I came down and I fixed and repaired. And then when I had time, and you get the idea. So the first step was I just came down here and picked some things up, because I always feel better when I have a clean area. So, and it's not totally done. You can see I don't have it totally cleaned up. But the first time I came down, I had 5 minutes and I just put a bunch of stuff away. And the next time I came down and cleaned the floor. The next time I came down and laid out my drop cloth and set my piece there. The next time I had a few minutes, I laid out my stuff. And now when I think about my project, in my mind's eye, I picture my piece sitting there waiting for me and everything out, just waiting. So all I have to do is come down and stir up my paint and dip my brush in and get going. So that's what I suggest for you. So next step, that'll be step number 3. I will put another coat of paint on my piece. Easy peasy. And I don't have to set aside 2 hours to do it. So plan out your piece, have your stuff laid out, and then go do it when you have time. Everyone can do that. No one is so busy that you cannot work on a piece. Just do it a little bit at a time. It will fit into your life. And that's a great part about being an entrepreneur, is you can fit it into your life, especially if you're working from home. Now, some of you work full time. I know that. I understand. And I do too. I work full time online because I have members I need to take care of in Furniture Flipping Blueprint. And I have my free groups on Facebook, and I have Talk to Me, which is my ladies forum. So I have a ton going on. I have grandkids, I have church, I have my household duties. I still got to do laundry like you do, but I still find time to do my painting and to do my other creative work because of this process. So give it a try. It'll work for you. Everyone has time to do something creative. Okay, so last tip to encourage your creativity, to get your things done that you have been dreaming about, to stop that, oh, I don't have time to do this. Last tip, make your work area something pretty, something that's visually appealing. You know, a lot of people work in their basements. This is my walkout area. It used to be an apartment, so that's how I ended up with a really nice kitchen down in my work area. For my workshop, I decided that I wanted something that was inviting, something that was pretty. So how did I get there? Well, number one, I cleaned up the area. You can see that my countertops are clean. That's how I start out each of my projects. I have a clean area to work in, not just the floor, not just a drop cloth for my piece, but a clean, inviting area. And then number 2, I decided that I wanted it to be pretty. So I added some pretty effects. I laid out some of my paints over here, and I've got other paints stacked up over here. I have sample boards back there behind me. That is encouraging to me. I have some signs that are cute. And a lot of the time, I just use my projects. I use my props, I guess, you know, the paint and the brushes and that kind of thing, to make my area pretty. I don't just throw everything in a drawer. I hang it out, I set it up, I make it look inviting. And that's my last tip to you. Sure, it's great to have a clean area. Isn't that encouraging to have cleaned off countertops? But to make your area pretty, make it something that's inviting to you. So then when I'm upstairs and I'm doing my regular everyday things and I think about my workshop area, if it's a disaster, it's not appealing. But if it's pretty and clean and ready for my project, it calls to me. And when I get a few minutes, I run down and I work on it. But if it's a disaster and I know it's going to be an hour before I can even get started on a project, I'm less likely to come down and work on it. So that's your last tip. So first, my first tip for you was to clean yourself an area, as in sweep the floor, lay down a drop cloth. And then second, to bring your piece out here, lay out all of your stuff that you need to get started. And then as you think about your work area, it's going to be inviting, it's going to be calling to you. And then tip number 3 is to make your work area pretty. Make it visually appealing. So when you're up doing your regular stuff and you grab another, you have like 10 minutes free, it's going to be calling to you. You're going to have that desire to come down and work, knowing that it's all ready for you. So take my advice, be systematic on how you do things, and you're going to find that you get much more done and that you get to enjoy your creativity much more.